Very much. A great person to talk to about this is the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Asia and the Pacific, Republican Congressman Ted Yoho of Florida. Great to have you and get your expertise on this today. Talk with me, if you can, first of all, about the importance of this type of a meeting and the timing.
Well, I think it's real important that you see some activity going there. You know, it hasn't been substantiated as of yet. It's not been verified. But I can see several reasons why Kim Jung Un would go to Beijing. You know, one is President Xi has met with President Trump multiple times, and he may be giving him pointers on how to deal with President Trump, how, you know, maybe how he thinks. And then the other things is maybe to negotiate releasing some of the sanctions that are obviously causing pain in North Korea. We know their trade from China is down 82% from what it was previously. So those things have got to be hurting and bringing him to the table, even though they deny that. And, you know, I don't want to speculate too much. The important thing is that there's negotiations starting, or the talks of starting those. And I think that's the important thing that we should focus on.
Boy, that's interesting. So maybe having a conversation, if this is going on at all, with China's leader about how do you talk with or deal with President Trump? Because if there's going to be that meeting between our current president and Kim Jung Un, you would think that he might want some pointers. If he's read Twitter at all, he knows he's about to meet somebody who's pretty tough. Let's talk, if we can, about the trade tariffs. I mean, China's in an interesting spot here. I know we're focused on North Korea and its leader, but let's talk about China, because that's your specialty too.
Love to. All right. Well, the trade tariffs, you know, as we know, China, we've got a deficit with them of over $300 billion. We know they steal over $300 billion of intellectual property, and they're dumping a lot of products on our country at the detriment of our manufacturers and workers here. So those things that we can't produce here, we need to bring in at a lower price. But those things that are in competition with our producers, tariffs need to be put on those, and that's how you balance trade. We want free and balanced trade. We all need trade in our economies, but we want free and balanced trade. We don't want people taking advantage of us again. And I commend President Trump for having the wherewithal and the courage to stand up and say enough's enough, and he's done a great job with NAFTA too. We've got to have, you know, put America first. Doesn't mean that we always win. For America to be first, our partners that we trade with, it has to be a balanced and free trade deal for them also.
So let me ask you this.
I think we're going in the right direction. Yeah.
Is there a, maybe not a trickle down, but a trickle over effect to North Korea when you put pressure on China?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we've done that through our committee. There was a lot of banking entities within China that we knew were funneling money back to North Korea, or they're taking coal shipments. And so we called them out on this. We sent letters to the Treasury Department and to the administration. And the interesting thing, a week and a half, 2 weeks after our letter went to the Treasury, we were seeing sanctions put on some of these Chinese banks and business entities. And this is the neat thing about what's going on now that hasn't gone on in the past 25 years in the negotiations under the Clintons or under the Bush administration or under Barack Obama, is that we've got a world buy-in of countries coming together and said, enough's enough. We do not want another war on the Korean Peninsula. We want to have a peaceful resolution, and then let South and North Korea determine what's best for those two countries. And, you know, there's a push for unification, and will be interesting to see how that works out. I feel like our goal is to help facilitate the talks as much as we can.
And to keep them from getting a nuclear weapon.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, obviously they have that, but we want to work at denuclearizing that. But they have to understand we're not on our sanctions or our commitment to get a peaceful resolution to this.
And that brings me to my last question. Chairman Yoho.
Sure.
So I ask you those questions in that order because it would seem that the president has put some things on the table to negotiate with. Last comments.
Well, you know, if you're going to go into a negotiation, you have to have the tools to do that. But you also have to have the willingness to take those back. And as this progresses, you know, we've still got to start with Moon Jae-in and Kim Jung Un, and then move on to the next one where President Trump will sit down with them. And I think he's the perfect person to sit down and start these negotiations.
All right. We'll bring you back as the news breaks on this. Appreciate it. Thank you.